Hi, I'm Greta Oliver. Welcome to the Educate You podcast, your roadmap to learning tips, techniques, and strategies to enable your student to successfully navigate the road to and through higher education. Welcome in to Educate You. Today's guest on the Life Coaching for Your Students segment of Educate You is Deborah Wright. Deborah Wright is the founder and CEO of Alignment Life Coaching and a certified life coach and career strategist with over 35 years of combined experience in individual, family, and relationship counseling. She is a past human resources administrator. She is well-versed in training and development, workshop facilitation, and conflict resolution. Today, she will share her knowledge with our viewers about life coaching and the benefits of early life coaching for your students based on her business and her personal and professional experiences as a life coach and counselor. Please join me in welcoming Deborah Wright to Educate You. Welcome so much, Deborah.
Good morning. Good morning. I just find it such a pleasure to be here with you. I love your mission and I love what you've accomplished so far and the book that you have written. It is so exciting because it's a book that's been long overdue. So thank you for what you've done and thank you for what you're doing now.
Oh, you're certainly welcome. I'm excited as well for you guys, everybody that's listening, to hear all about life coaching for students. This is like new to me. This is not in my book, but I almost wish that it would. And maybe in my second edition, I'll include this because it seems like such a good idea that just hasn't even been thought of before. And so let's just jump right in and talk about life coaching for students and, all about how that can be beneficial and actually help them in their preparation for college. And so can you just tell us right off the bat, give us your definition of life coaching and all of the ins and outs about why it's beneficial for students at a younger age?
Certainly, exactly. But I think that's a good place to start. And that is to just talk about what is life coaching. And simply put, life coaching is a process that helps a person get from where they are to where they want to be. There are different types of life coaches. You may have heard of health coaches, business coaches, executive coaches, whatever the case may be. And so a life coach facilitates that process and helps that person set and reach goals in whatever area it is that they're seeking assistance in. So as a life coach, I help people develop a strategy, a life strategy for, in particular, in my scope of expertise, for where it is they are in a particular area of their life and help and partner with them. I think it's really important to think about life coaching as a partnership and partner with them to help develop goals, set those goals, and then develop a step-by-step process for achieving those goals. And so life coaching can be so beneficial for students, so very beneficial. I wish that I had someone to help me through this process. And we talked a little bit one time about the fact that in my day, there were such things as guidance counselors. But that whole term has even gone away. They're now called school counselors, and the function and the role is different. Those guidance counselors, there was a reason for the term guidance. And those guidance counselors help guide the students, not just through the school process, but also in terms of where they wanted to go in life. Oftentimes I hear people generally say, I wish I knew this when I was younger, or I wish I had this knowledge when I was younger. So for a student, life coaching, again, can be very helpful because it can help that student start looking at where it is they are now and where they want to be, which is the primary goal for life coaching.
Okay, I love that. I love that. Continue.
Okay. Well, sometimes when we look at our students as parents and teachers and counselors, we think about our students, and students, of course, are transitioning from the academic world and also making a lot of decisions in this particular time of their lives. It's not even just students. We all transition through life. We're all going through some type of transition whether it's from an employee to a manager, whether it's from not being a parent to being a parent, whether with whatever, there are always life transitions. So life coaching can start
Mm-hmm.
early as with a student. And the reason we start early as possible is because we can help students actually develop an understanding of who they are, what their interests are, what their passions are, what their skills and strengths are, and guide them through that process, through that transition process. Oftentimes, we all, again, and I say we all, not only just students, have a need for self awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And since students are in that phase of their life where they are coming to an understanding of who they are, it's the perfect time to think about life coaching. Life coaching for anyone, but can be for a student, is an investment.
Mm-hmm.
It's an investment in that student, in that child that we have, our nieces, our nephews, whatever the case may be. It can be an investment that's going to help that student progress and transition to where they are now to where they want to be.
Okay.
So, I'm going to stop there. Any questions?
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you a question right now. Okay,
Okay.
so what does that look like? I know it's an investment, and a lot of parents are willing to make investments for any number of things. They're thinking about maybe SAT, ACT prep courses. They're thinking about, having their student talk to someone like maybe a life coach and get some information to help guide them along their path. Any number of investments can be made by parents trying to help students get on the right path. But you said it could start early, but when should that start, and what exactly would that look like if I'm a parent and I'm coming to you and I'm saying, okay, I have little Susie here and I want her to be able to take advantage of what you have to offer? What does that actually look like for a parent?
Great question. Great question. What it looks like is actually looking at and assessing where that child is now. And academically, I think that it can start as early as a ninth grader.
Okay.
And I think that that's important from an academic perspective because that transition is happening throughout their, especially their high school years. I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes as adults, we wait until the junior and senior year to think about that transition. Oh, he's got to go to school. He's got to
Right.
start preparing for the SAT and the ACT. Well, let's find out what types of things may be helpful during those high school years that would help him not only in preparing for those standardized tests and getting into a college, but also for focusing in on those areas and those things that are going to be that are going to impact that
Mm-hmm.
transition. So
Okay.
that could look like an assessment. It could look like just a conversation with the
Mm-hmm.
student. What
Mm-hmm.
do you like? What courses are you interested in high school? What
Mm-hmm.
appeals to you? What are you good in? And one example that I use when I talk to parents and talk to students and talk to people in general about life coaching for students is one example is a young man who I shared with him. We were just having a general conversation. And so I actually said, he was a junior, I think. And I actually said, well, what are your goals? What do you think, using the term, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
And where are you headed? And he was so excited. He said, I want to be an aerospace engineer. And I said, that is fantastic. I think that is a great goal. I think that that's an up and coming career and field. And that is a fantastic goal. So, what courses do you enjoy taking in high school? And he said, I enjoy English and history. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, that's great. Are those areas and courses that you're good in? And he said, yes, I really like English and history. And I said, well, what about science? Uh, Science is not really one of those classes that I really like a lot. What about math?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I shy away from math. I take the basic math classes and that's it. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, my goodness, when we think about aerospace engineering, we are thinking about those technical courses, those
Mm-hmm.
sciences, those maths, physics, chemistry. But here's a young man who dislikes those classes and
Mm-hmm.
he favors the liberal arts classes.
Mm-hmm.
So, what that looks like is helping that student align their interests, align their strengths, and align their passions with their goals. Because his goal was to be an aerospace engineer. However, his interests and his passions and his strengths were not were not in that direction. Now, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean he can't be and that he shouldn't move there or he shouldn't strive for that. But being on the right course for being an
Mm-hmm.
aerospace engineer
Mm-hmm.
is what was important at that point. So
Right.
what that looks like is thinking about what the student is good at and where they want to be. Where are they now? And where do they want to be?
Right.
And be sure that there is an alignment of those
Okay.
things.
Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. And I think a lot of it is just being aware of the fact that if you are interested in certain things, there's paths that go that way and other paths that are not going that way. And so just even having that awareness is something that's important for students. And so I think that this could be really, really helpful to students when they find out exactly like what they're passionate about, what they feel like they would be able to do happily, because we want people to have careers where they're happy in their career and they're excited about going to work. You spend so much time, and believe me, it is so much time working, and so you don't need to be dreading the experience the entire time. You don't need to be in tears going to the job. And I have been in tears going to a job before. And so I know that is a miserable existence. And so if we can get students to kind of know or at least have an idea of the things that they're interested in. And also, if they're able to take some of those courses, either as requirements or as electives, and even when they're going into college, if they can be able to use that information that they have received from life coaching early to know how to, look for a college that has their major, to take courses that are going to support what path they're on. That's just like, it's almost a no-brainer. It's like, why haven't we talked about this before? Why isn't this a thing? Why isn't this, something that we're normalizing? What is the problem here that we don't know how beneficial this could be to a student's actual success? I just don't get it.
You're absolutely correct. And as you indicated, I have a background in human resources. And so many people are in jobs and in positions that they really are not comfortable with, that they don't like, and they wish they were in something else. And so what happens down the road, even with life coaching, is that oftentimes a person in general can look at the fact that if I get on the right path from the beginning, I may not be one of those people down the road who ends up in a job that they dislike. And
Right.
oftentimes, the reason why students make decisions is so important.
Mm-hmm.
The school, and you indicated the fact that the choice of college should support your path and should support your passion.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be an ACC university. It may not be in the top 100 successful or graded universities. However, whatever the foundation is for a technical school or a college is really what should be looking at. And they should be matching their interests with what's the sound foundational academic strength of the college that they're
Right.
going for.
Absolutely.
In this young man's instance, if he still wants to pursue aerospace engineering, then choosing and thinking about a university has a strong scientific and technical program is what he should be looking for. If he is interested in English and history, then a college that has a sound liberal arts program is what he should be looking for. And I think one of the things that often is neglected by school counselors possibly or the students themselves is actually understanding the breadth of careers that
Mm-hmm.
are available out there to people. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why also it's so important to align those strengths and those passions and those interests with careers. When we think about medicine, oftentimes students only think of being a doctor
Mm-hmm.
or being a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Nurse, but there are so many careers, as you probably know, in the medical field. You
Right.
don't always have to be a doctor, but you may have a strong interest in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so finding one of those fields in medicine that matches your strengths and your interests could be just as advantageous for you as
Okay.
a student.
Okay, so you mentioned assessments and ways to find out what students are really interested in, what they seem, at least, and we know that people change and they can change, but at least at the point in time that we're talking to them,
Mhm.
finding out what they're interested in. Do you have any go-to assessments that you use, over and over, or that you found very useful in helping students to figure out what it is that they're interested in?
There are some career inventories. One, and you may be familiar with the strong career interest inventory,
Mhm.
also career inventory. There are also some inventories that deal with strengths.
Mhm.
The Enneagram, and it's ENNEGRAM,
Mhm.
also is an inventory that helps even students identify their interests and their strengths.
Mhm.
There's also an actual spinoff from the MBTI, which is an adult personality inventory,
Right.
but they are developing and have developed, and I will research that more, something for the younger generation
Mhm.
so that they can also identify their strengths and identify what it is that they are passionate about and what their interests are.
Okay.
So that is so important also for a
Mhm.
student. And so I work with students in order to find out what might be the best type of inventory. There's even a brief inventory that I can use with children, young people, and it's actually based on animals and the
Mhm.
description for animals. And the personalities that you see in animals can sometimes, after we take the inventory, line up with being strong or
Mhm.
lined up with enjoying being joyful or
Mhm.
those kinds of things that really help a young people relate to identifying their personality traits and their skills also. And that's
Absolutely.
important.
And I know another thing that I just want to talk, it's a little bit off subject, but it does matter, is nurturing things, parents and other individuals, nurturing things that they see as strengths in their own children. I know a lot of times, you always thinking about maybe athletes, somebody that's really athletic and they're doing well, they're a good football, basketball, whatever player. But there are other things and many other things that you can see if you just pay just the slightest of attention to your children and kind of see what things they gravitate toward, what things that are important to them, what they spend their time doing. And you can find out like certain strengths that they have. And then as parents, we need to make a concerted effort to nurture those things and put opportunities in that child's way, in their path, so that they'll be able to develop and hone those skills, because it's so important, because everybody has gifting. And I know sometimes you're a grown person and you're wondering what the heck, do I have any gifts? Everybody has gifts.
Everybody.
Everybody is good at something. And so if you can identify those things in your own children as well as in yourself, because it's always important,
Mhm.
but to help to move them along. A lot of times you'll find that the things that people are most passionate about, it is directly tied to what they're gifted at.
Yes.
And so I feel like, just in general, I feel like I have a gift for teaching. I feel like I have a strong passion for helping students and helping people to, get their education, get what they need to get through college. And I really feel like that is my calling. And so every single thing that I have really been tied to that was at least a permanent job I had a lot of temporary crazy things, but a permanent job, really was toward that. It's about training and development. It's about education. It's about administration. It's about helping students and writing books and trying to do podcasts like this one, trying to tell people what I feel they need to know to be able to make it, because I know a lot of people don't know what they need to know. And because I've been through it, and all of my experiences have not always been ideal. I haven't always, had everything, perfect in my life, but I know what I know. And I feel like if I help other people with that, they don't have to go through the same thing. And so that's a gifting. And so if you can get that identified somehow, or at least recognize that in young children, one of the ways in which you can do that is through life coaching, finding out what their strengths and things are and what their interests are. It's just going to be that much easier for that child, and that much easier for them to get on the road, get a goal in sight, and work toward that goal. So I just think this is just wonderful. I think this should be the norm, honestly, for parents and their students to be able to move forward in something that matters to the child.
Absolutely. You brought up such a good point. Well, several good points, but in particular of the fact that it's important for us as parents to nurture the things that we see in our children.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes we are not paying attention. And it's important for us to do that. I will actually just mention something with my daughter, and this is an academic situation, but sometimes, an athletic situation. But she was very good at running. And in our neighborhood, she would just outrun every little boy in the neighborhood, and she would run. And so one day her teacher said to me after school, "Have you ever noticed how fast Brianna runs?" And I said, "Well, yeah, she runs fast and she plays a lot." And he said, No. Have you ever really realized how fast she runs?
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought about that. And so sometimes other people can actually also see things that we parents can't even see because we're taking it for granted.
Right.
And so in her case, I said, okay. And so I actually enrolled her, or had her registered for a track program.
Mm-hmm.
And she ended up actually going to the national U.S. Track and field.
Wow.
Actually, the national, several years out. She started at age 9. She was 9 at this time. And again, that gifting, and I call it a gifting, actually, when we even athletically, we can think that can lead to possible scholarships into the college that we want. But you are so right. Think about the things that we want to and should expose our children to in order to help them identify what they like. If they're not exposed to certain things, they may never get that opportunity to develop that interest and develop that passion. And that is so, so very important. So you mentioned nurturing that. And again, if we think of life coaching as an investment, it's an investment. As a parent, I can invest in a lot of different things, but there's no greater investment than investing in my child. And I share with parents, take the time to invest in those areas, because not only may you find out what your child is gifted at, you may find out what your child may not be gifted in something. And therefore that helps you and your child and student not to go down a path that may not be effective for that child and for the student. So it can work either way, but it's still an investment, and it still has a good outcome regardless.
Absolutely. And I do want to mention that, and I've mentioned this on other episodes of Educate You, but I really want parents to realize that your student is the one that's going to college. Your student is the one that's going to have to go into the classrooms, going to have to take the test, all of that. And so to just be kind of cautious that you're not trying to put your own hopes and dreams on someone that is not you. Let them have their own hopes and dreams. Do the assessments, find out their interests, participate in life coaching, develop their strengths, nurture their strengths and their things that they're passionate about. and just kind of get the spotlight off of you, because right now it's not on you. I just really want parents to know that this is students we're talking about, and these are their lives. And while you can be supportive and help them, and as parents, we do that. That's what we're supposed to do. And that's what the majority of us do. And so just remember that when you're going through all of these life coaching investment opportunities, going and helping and trying to help your student get on the right path, let them be the one that you're focused on and not yourself. I'm just saying, I'm on my soapbox again.
That's a good soapbox to be on, because I agree wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things I tell all of my clients, or anyone that I talk to, is where you find your passion, you'll find your purpose. Mm-hmm. And so every person at any age is entitled to find their own passion so that they can begin to transition into their own purpose, because everybody's purpose is not the same. People may go down similar paths, mm-hmm. but what happens at the end of that path is basically determined by that individual and that person. And that's who we want it to be determined by, that student. And when they actually try to develop a passion that we as parents have versus a passion that they themselves have, it doesn't work out as well as we would like for it to work out.
Absolutely. This is not what we want to do. We don't want to send Johnny to school to be a doctor when he really doesn't want to be there, because that is going to show up. It's going to show up that this is not what I want to do. This is not where I want to be. And we don't have time or money to waste. We honestly don't. Try to, get them on a path that is their path, so that they can be excited about it, so that they can be passionate about it, and so that they can be all in. You want students at college that are all in, not halfway in, 1/4 in, 1/8 in, not in at all. We don't need that. We don't need that as parents, and they don't need it as students. And so that's just the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. And I also heard you say in one of your podcasts that every student may not want to go to college right off.
Right.
And that doesn't mean they may not right off.
Right.
Mm-hmm. A year later. But initially, or right after high school, a student may not decide that he or she wants to go to college. They still may want to take the time to look at who they are, develop some self-awareness, develop their interests and their passions, so that we don't go down a rabbit trail, so to speak.
Yep.
And not end up in the right direction. But I do want to say that even when a student or an adult has life coaching, it doesn't mean that the path that is set or the action plan that is placed in place is etched in stone.
Yes.
There may be a detour. Again, I am a firm believer that if we run into a detour, that's good, because we may need to go into another direction, direction that's going to be advantageous, that's going to be beneficial, and that's going to take us to the destination that we want our students to go into, and that they themselves want to travel, because it's going to mean so much more to them if it's the path that they're on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all reinvent ourselves. Look at me now. Okay.
Me too.
I'm doing this, right? It's like you're not, like I said, it's not etched in stone, but what it should be is something that they are interested in at the time. Exactly. That's all it needs to be. That's something you're passionate about at the time. Even if it changes, it's okay to change things.
It is.
Change is good. Change is good. I'd rather have a student change, or even, anybody change something for something that works better for them, than to be miserable in a certain situation just because that's what they're familiar with. That makes no sense. Okay, so we're not talking about things that don't make sense, right? We're talking about things that do make sense. It makes perfect sense for parents to go and help their student by, getting in touch with you or somebody like you about life coaching, at least by the 9th grade, so that we can help guide the students in what they're interested in right then. And that decision, they're finding their strengths, finding their abilities, finding their passions, finding their interests, can help guide them in college and beyond until they change their mind about something else, and then we'll do it all over again.
Then we'll do it all over again.
How about that?
That's okay, because
It is all right.
what life coaching does for a student is it actually helps a student become more intentional about the path that they're taking, being able to navigate their lives with a specific purpose in mind, and to be focused. And so, like you said, that may be what they're focusing on or need to focus on now, but at least they're focused.
Exactly.
And so that's real important, being intentional so that we can navigate intentionally and strategically for that path that they want to be on.
Right. And that is called living on purpose.
It's called living on purpose. It is.
Living on purpose. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and telling us all about what you do, all about life coaching and why it's so important. I love it. And I will be a proponent of your services to everyone that I come in contact with, because it's so vitally important. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us today on Educate You. If you wish, you can send me your questions or comments about the college going process or the podcast contents by sending an email to drgreta@gretaoliverconsulting.com. Also, beginning each week after the podcast airs, check for a companion blog on my website's blog page at gretaoliverconsulting.com. My book, College Roadmap, Essential Tips for First-Time College Students and Their Families, is available for sale on Amazon.com. Join us next week for another tip or strategy to make the road to higher education easier for your student.